What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some big news that came out for Tesla, not to mention the JOLTS job openings reports. Let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15. And the offer ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about the market now. As you guys can see, we're seeing a bit of a dip right now in the way things are moving. Tesla's also kind of dipping with this market, getting very, very close to this 225 support zone. And we're actually seeing some pullback that's now perpetuating throughout the different indices, ETFs, and individual equities out there. So what's going on with the market is, I first want to mention that for Tesla specifically, we had this news that came out. The majority of mainstream news articles are saying that Tesla has a 1.8 million EV recall that's going on, and that's a little bit more negative for Tesla. So that's part of why it's dipping. But there's one source known as Electrek that's actually giving us a good headline. They're saying that Tesla's pushing for a software fix for its 1.8 million EVs to prevent the hood from flying open, and that is actually correct. That is the truth. So they did a very, very good job. So shout outs to them. Other sources are just saying that it's a massive recall, when in reality it isn't truly your typical conventional, automobile recall. I went over the full details about that in my previous video, so if you guys want to check that out, you could. But going back, there was also more data that came out at 10 o'clock a.m., where the US JOLTS job openings declined to 1.18 million in June versus the 8.03 million expected. So something that's worth noting. We actually have the data right over here. Job quits are a little bit below expectations, very close, and job openings are still a little bit above expectations. But as a result of this data, okay, the market is getting a more negative reaction. The market's actually been dipping quite a bit as a result of this release. So that's part of why Tesla got dragged down too. The levels to watch for right now on Tesla are going to be, we have 227.5 as resistance, followed by just under 230. 229.5 would be the next level. Our key support currently is very close to the 225 area. We'll have to see how well Tesla holds that. If we end up losing that, we could be looking for a dip all the way down to at least the 222s if Tesla loses 225. So we'll have to see how well it holds up. But right now, we are looking a little bit weaker, at least for the market, even for Tesla, and it's getting dragged down because of that. So it's not just Tesla, the whole market is coming down because of the JOLTS reports, and we're seeing this having a very, very big ripple effect for different equities, and Tesla's taking a hit as a result of that as well. So we had negative news for Tesla specifically, not to mention the JOLTS report, which is why the market's dipping so far, and that is what's contributing to why Tesla's dipping the way it is. So watch this 225 area. We'll see if Tesla could hold this. So if you look at this, we had this resistance right here where this yellow line is. This is our previous resistance, which is now going to become support. We'll see if Tesla holds 225. If not, we'll be on our way down to 222. Watch resistance at 220, just under 228. I would say 227.5. And then we have almost 230 coming next. But so far, we're looking a little bit more bearish as the market is continuing to fall. I want to call out SPY because if we don't reclaim 542 and we end up closing below that on the hourly time frame, there is a risk of us coming all the way down to fill this gap. Now, we have a little bit of support at 541. That's what's known as the gap support. So it's like right over here. If we end up losing that, then we will most definitely fill this gap into the 539s. So be very careful, guys. There is a risk of downside if you look at the current charts. Watch 542 as resistance. If we get back above that, we could try to get back up to 544, but so far we're seeing a lot of bearish momentum building, especially when you look at the 4-hour time frame right over here. This is turning more bearish, and there is a risk of us coming down to fill this gap by tomorrow. So just be careful. There is a risk of downside on SPY now as a result of the negative data. So even though there's a risk of it, watch for confirmation. See if we close below 542 on the hourly time frame. That's going to be a big sign for which way we're going to be going. So just be careful and just note the risk is still there. For Nvidia, unfortunately, Nvidia lost support at 112, and we're continuing to fall right over here. So the level I marked, I think my line got deleted, was like right around here, this 108 area. And then with us losing that, essentially, there's now risks of more downside for the stock. So we're basically going to be watching this 104 area followed by 100. If 104 doesn't hold, I'll be looking at 100 on Nvidia. We'll have to see how well it holds from here. Watch resistance around 108 followed by 112. But overall, Nvidia is still looking a little bit more bearish. It's favoring downside, so just be careful. Bitcoin is also dipping a little bit. We're actually just barely around the 66,000 area. If we fail to break above that, we're going to see continuation to the downside, so just be very careful. SPY is back at 542. We're kind of shuffling here, so be careful, guys. We'll see if we could hold this or not. If it doesn't hold, we have that gap to fill, so you want to be very careful. I'm just here to give you guys the warnings about it, so just be very, very mindful of that. For others out there, we have ES. ES is looking a little bit more bearish. And notice how this trend line I had drawn out is still holding up. So see how we rejected here, rejected again, and then we rejected the third time. This is opening the door for even more downside. So you want to be very careful with SPY and also the others out there. This is what is once again slowing things down. Same thing with SPX, kind of rejecting close to this trend line. There is a risk of it dipping lower if we continue to fall all the way down towards the 5420s, there could be a risk of even more downside back to the 5300. So we could be coming to like the 53, 80 area, for example, if we end up continuing to fall. So it's looking a little bit more bearish. For others out there, we have the QQQ rejecting. We were trying to break above 466. We did not hold above it. And we've ended up falling back down to fill our gap. So there's a risk of this retesting 457 to 455. If we end up losing 458. So we're looking a little bit more bearish on the triple Q. We'll see if 458 holds or not. It's been dipping quite a bit. On top of this, we also have other tech stocks like Aapl. Aapl pushed for 220 only to fail. We're returning back down to almost 216. So we have our key support. And otherwise, we're just range bound on Aapl, but there is a risk of it tipping a little bit lower. So not the best looking setup, at least for the bulls. It's still favoring that move. We might consolidate close to 216 to 217, but like I said before, be careful. For the IWM, we have a possible cup and handle like structure, but now we're just shuffling at 222. We attempted to break out only to come back down, so we're just kind of shuffling here. We'll see if we could close and hold above 222 or not. That's going to be a very, very pivotal level. As of right now, we're kind of trading sideways. Coinbase is not looking too good. We have a very, very large looking head and shoulders like structure, and we have this gap to fill down here. We're at risk of coming down to fill this gap to 221, so just be very, very mindful of that. Be very careful, guys. I want to give you guys a warning. For Amazon, excuse me. We were trying to break out. We did touch 186, so it came close to our target, only to reject. Now we're barely holding 182. If that does not hold, watch for 180, guys. There's going to be a risk of that. For Meta, we're kind of rejecting here. If we fail to hold 465, I'll be looking for 460 all over again, and we have 468 as resistance. I'm seeing some weakness perpetuating on the chart, so just be careful with that. For Microsoft, we're kind of rejecting as well. There's going to be a risk of this dipping all the way down to 420. It's not doing the best of job at holding up. It was trying to break out only to fail. So watch and see that 420 area. And then Google's failing to break past 172. If we broke that, 174 would be coming because we're failing. There's going to be a risk of us dipping even lower towards 170 flat. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Just know that SPY is barely at 542 support. Tesla is kind of it's getting close to 227.5, but like I said before, looking a little bit more weak. We're starting to favor downside a bit more, so you want to be very careful with the way the market's moving. So that being said, thank you all for listening. I hope you guys have an absolutely spectacular day, and I'll see you guys very soon in just a couple of hours. The downside is once again looking stronger, especially after we got the bad data. So we'll see how things go. Have a great day, and peace out.